You have time for an interview?
What?
You have time for an interview?
Maybe.
Well, awesome. We'd love to have you.
How long is it going to take?
How long do you want it to take?
Or like 5 minutes.
Let's do 5 minutes.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks for stopping.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Lacey?
Lacey?
Yes.
L-A-C-Y?
E-Y.
L-A-C-E-Y.
Yes.
Cool. I'm David.
Lacey.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice. So Lacey, what's your major?
Egg business.
Ag. Awesome.
Yeah.
I was a farm boy.
Nice.
Not anymore, but you know. Did you grow up on a farm then?
Actually, I've lived in 3 different places.
Yeah.
So first we started out in town, and then we ended up moving to Nebraska, northeast Nebraska.
Yep.
And we lived on a small acreage where we raised horses and trained horses. So that was pretty fun. And now we live in Iowa on a little acreage, and we have, I think, like 6 acres of great vineyards, and we still have our horses and are still doing all that stuff.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very good, good. So is there anything, since you've got 5 minutes, we'll try to get right into it. Is there anything that you want other people, that you look and you go, I wish they knew the truth about this? And you know it. You know the truth, right?
A lot of it, I think, I rodeo, and so a lot of people don't know, like, kind of the whole background of that, and like a lot of like PETA is a lot of it, and like down in California they're trying to get rid of rodeo, and there's a lot of like banned equipment like Spurs and all that type of stuff because they think that that's not ethically treating your animals, when in reality it's just like a tool for us to make sure that we know what our horses are listening to us, and it's a quicker mechanism for them to listen to us. So I think a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of the events are after like the real cowboy ways. So it's cool. Like, if you look into the research of it, it's not like we're trying to hurt these things, and yes, injuries can happen, but like our livestock is being treated better than most of the other livestock. Like, we treat them like the queens and kings that they are, and so some people, they're just like, oh, they're doing this because they want to hurt them, but when in reality, it's just what we love to do. So
so are there other ways? I'm gonna focus on the part with the Spurs and the other things like that. So what are they doing when states are saying, are different places say you can't use these methodologies? Well, how are they doing it instead?
Usually they'll just say like no Spurs, which Spurs are what goes on your boots, and they're usually just metal, and they have a little like rowel, which is like, it kind of looks like a gear turner, that's just on a little rod, and they spin.
Yep. And
in reality, it's not hurting them.
Yeah.
So
setting that aside, I understand that it doesn't.
Yeah.
The concept is it's not hurting them. So when in these places where they say no Spurs, what do the rodeo people do instead?
They don't wear them.
And then does that impact the quality of their show then?
It can. Some horses really, really rely on them to feel where like your feet are, and like which foot are you using, and you can still do it without it. It's just your horses aren't going to be as responsive, if you know what I mean.
Is there a way that we could get horses? I mean, you talked about reliability.
Yes.
And how does that become reliable? Like, what makes it reliable?
I don't know. It makes them respond faster. So like, when you don't have your spurs on, your stirrups sit a little bit further away from them, and so then you have more of a distance to try to like.
Yeah. So maybe I'm trying to get down to when do they start? Like, when do they start training with Spurs? Because it sounds like it's a training thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So sometimes I always have mine on. So since like the first day that I get on a colt, they're on my feet, just because they feel it, and it's kind of like fight or flight. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. If you had an animal on your colts, and from day one you didn't use Spurs, would they rely on spurs?
No, they were not. So if you start with them, usually you can use them. They're used to them. You use them their whole life, but they don't always need them because sometimes in their like muscles they feel you move, and so I have a horse who you don't really need spurs because you don't really use your feet with them. So, but horses that mostly rely on using your feet usually need them more.
Is that something that they inherently know or that they're trained to understand?
Usually it's in their bloodline. So bloodlines do a lot, like how their past ancestors were trained and how they like were ridden and stuff like that. Where I train a lot of barrel horses, and so they're used to your hip movements. And so his mom was like, no spurs, didn't really need anything, just kind of knew what to do. And so he inherited a lot of those traits. And so they're there just for like extra like, hey, I want you to do this right now, rather than I want you to do this, but I'm not expecting you to do it immediately.
Is there a way that you could see in the future where we wouldn't have to rely on spurs? Like, what would, if you were like, Kevin, if we just did this in 20 years from now, we'd have the same great shows we have, but wouldn't need spurs. Like, how would you approach that?
It's personal preference. A lot of it is.
Yeah.
And so if you could get everyone in the sport to be like, I don't need these, your horses would eventually be like, okay, we don't need to have these. And so it would just take time and a lot of education and trying to get these people to not use them. But so many people are stuck on that way that people are stubborn, they want their own way, and which is perfectly fine. But it's just like education and influence, and if like you start seeing more of the pros do it, that usually will trickle down into all of your amateur and high school and junior high, and eventually maybe change it.
So it's like influencers.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So you've got your top influencers, and that works its way down through. So it is a possibility.
Yeah.
So really, right now, it's kind of a choice that the people who ride horses are choosing that methodology.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Did I make you think about anything different?
Yeah, you did.
Did I? Okay. Was it good? Was it a good conversation for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's the whole concept here. I'm glad you took 5 minutes to sit down and talk, Lacey.
Thank you.
And
It was nice meeting
have
you.
a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Spurs should remain legal.
Spurs question mark. Short, simple. Spurs?
Spurs.
Or you'd like to have more of a tease?
Oh no, I was just making sure that I understood.
Oh, what she was.
Her topic.
Yeah. She was just more about people don't want us to use spurs, and we should be able to use spurs. Damn it, because that's the way we've always done it. I mean, it's kind of what it came down to me.
Appeal to tradition.
Kind of an appeal to tradition.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And again, I took the opposite side of that. And how could the world change down the road? What would it look like in 20 years? How could we get there in 20 years?
Uh-huh.
And do we really need spurs? And it ended up that we really don't, because they're training these horses from basically foals when they're young all the way up through, so that's what they're used to. This is very similar to like a religious argument where that's what they were taught all the way up through. And she recognized that it would be hard to get everybody to change, but everybody would need to change in order for the industry to change.
Yeah.
But the shows would be just as good without spurs, but everybody has to do it.
Everybody's got to buy in for it to work.
Everybody's got to buy in for it to work. And the horses, I think ultimately, she didn't say this, but the horses are ultimately smart enough to understand the rider, what they want. So then it ended up, I think she had mentioned PETA in there, and from a derogatory standpoint, right? And I left that one alone, but I think she'll think about that afterwards as well. So.
Yeah. Like, why is appeal to tradition a good reason to believe something?
Right. And she didn't present it as an appeal to tradition. She started out more with, this is how you get the horses know what you want, right? The spurs are what make the horse know what you want.
Yeah, they're more responsive.
Yes. Yeah, they're more responsive. So, yeah. But not all horses need it. And the reason they don't need it is they never had them before.
Uh-huh.
And she mentioned bloodline too. Some bloodlines are better at not needing spurs, but I would probably argue that horses are smarter than that, and they understand. It's all about their training. To me personally, I have no dog in that fight either way. Spurs, not spurs. No horse in that fight. I almost said during the conversation, stubborn as a horse.
Yeah.
That people are stubborn.
Hold your horses here.
Yeah, hold your horse. You guys want to do an interview? Yeah, come on. It only takes a few minutes. Okay.
Trying to rein them in.
Yeah. So that was very quick.
So what was her
to the point?
main reason?
I think her main reason was the horses respond better, and PETA's trying to stop us from doing that we've been doing all these years.
You missed my joke, didn't you?
Yeah, they're main. Yeah, the main. Yeah. So, yes. Are you a dad?
No.
You should be.
Not that I
with
know
that
of.
joke.
Yeah.